Springfield Talk 1041. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the show. My name is Nick Reed. We have a busy day tomorrow. It is always the busiest day of the year, the busiest Friday of the year and day of the year for KSGF for the morning show, and it will kick off, of course, tomorrow at Scramblers. We're going to be broadcasting live. That live broadcast sponsored by Custom Shade Window Tinting, which is powered by 3M Window Film, and it's going to be a hero's breakfast. So if you're a veteran, come by. You're going to get free breakfast. That thanks to the Warrior's Journey, Delta Roofing, Air Services, Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical. Then, on top of that, we have our holiday helpers. And this is something we do annually. We used to focus on gift ideas, but we've expanded it this year where we are going to be throughout the day, we're going to be visiting area businesses and that can just be a help during the holidays in general. So there may be gift ideas, but also, stuff to do with your family that's visiting in town, or you got to ship those hard-to-ship packages. What's the best way to do it? Is it UPS? Is it FedEx? Is it the Postal Service? Are there differences? Doesn't matter. So these are the things throughout the day we'll be doing. We'll come to you tomorrow, each hour from a different location, and we'll be doing a Facebook Live at each of those locations as well. So you are going to hear us with Rapid Ship Republic. You're going to hear us with Aviary Cafe, Ming Auto Beauty Center, Just for Him, and Big Shots Golf. I think I've got everyone in there. Foreman Mechanical is once again sponsoring it, and then Corwin Automotive of Springfield Republic is going to be providing transportation. So that's going to be happening. Then we're going to be having our happy hour with you at Retro Metro 4 to 6. Would love for you to come by and join us for that. And finally, tomorrow 10 a.m., Local for Less Ozarks. I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but I just want to make sure that you know everything that's going on. Big Whiskey American Restaurant and Bar, only $25. You get a $50 gift certificate. I don't know any limitations on that. I'm not sure. Sometimes there's a limit of 1, sometimes a limit of 4. It should tell you there when you go to the page, which I think should be viewable. You just can't purchase those yet. But that will be 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. It's always a great deal when you can get essentially half price on some sort of gift card for a food provider. It's Thursday. We'll have Author of the Week, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone. And then Christy Fulnecki, of course, will be joining us in the 7 o'clock hour. And Santa's Angels is underway, and we're going to, as you know, it's just been such a tremendously busy week. Once we get all of this week out of the way, we'll really be able to do the required focus on Santa's Angels. Those of you who are familiar and who have been partners with us, in fact, last week, I got a text from one of my neighbors saying, hey, are you guys doing that again? Where are the different locations set up so I can go by and get one? And lucky for him, there were 2 that were very close. We've got this year A1 Custom Car Care in Republic, but also just down the road, Pinnager Chevrolet in Republic has one of the trees as well. And then in Springfield, Anchor Tactical Supply, Crown Power and Equipment, and Greene County Freight and Food Sales. Those listings are at ksgf.com. And if you're not familiar with Santa's Angels, like I said, we do have details at ksgf.com, but starting Monday in particular, we'll really put a focus on it because we'll have more time to devote what is warranted for that effort. But if you could, those that do this every year, go ahead and pick up from one of those locations a kid or more than one kid to adopt, and that'll really help the ball rolling. Are you cutting the
Heroes Breakfast
Heroes
coupons? I was
Breakfast
trying to be
coupons
quiet
there?
over here.
No.
I completely forgot. We've got so much stuff that's happening that I forgot to make them. And then yesterday you mentioned, hey, it's a Heroes Breakfast. I'm like, oh no, I gotta get those done.
Well, sorry, I'm texting right now.
That's okay. Would you like me to do the weather for
Yeah,
you?
you know what? Would you do that while I try to coordinate something
Sure.
unprofessionally here on it?
Okay.
It is work related.
I'll make it happen.
All right.
Well, that first alert forecast from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt is sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. Today it'll be sunny and breezy with a high near 32. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 18. For your Friday, sunny skies with a high near 45. And on Saturday, once again, sunny skies with a high near 55.
Billy Long, Billy Long, Billy Long, Billy Long. Yes, Billy Long, making national news as he has been nominated by Donald Trump to lead the IRS. Can you believe that?
Billy Long, man.
Billy Long. I don't know. I'm like, that's crazy.
I know.
I mean, not like in a bad way or anything. It's not crazy for bad reasons, but that's just a pretty big job. I think the guy that, we're doing the show and I see him at Scramblers and, he's there visiting with people and this is the guy, he's going to be, I doubt that he's going to come up against any obstacles getting approved, but this is a guy that's going to be leading the IRS.
I know. Isn't that wild?
Yes. Just the News reporting President-elect Donald Trump Wednesday nominating former Missouri Representative Billy Long to lead the Internal Revenue Service next year. Trump has spent the past month filling out critical roles in his next administration, already announcing his cabinet nominees, which include 2 Fox hosts, several allies, such as Robert F. Kennedy Jr. The incoming president says he's known Long since 2011 and touted his 12-year tenure in the House in a statement on Truth Social. Long has also spent 32 years in real estate, worked as an auctioneer. They didn't mention radio.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quote, since leaving Congress, this is from the Truth Social post by President Trump. Since leaving Congress, Billy has worked as a business and tax advisor, helping small businesses navigate the complexities of complying with the IRS rules and regulations. I've known Billy since 2011. He's an extremely hard worker, respected by all, especially by those who know him in Congress. Taxpayers and the wonderful employees of the IRS will love having Billy at the helm. Long, who still needs to be confirmed by the Senate, is expected to replace current IRS Commissioner Danny Werfel, who was appointed to a 5-year term by Joe Biden in 2022. So there you have it. I wonder, I did not know that those two knew one another since 2011.
No, I didn't know that either.
I didn't know. I mean, I knew because conversations we've had with him, and he's been on the program here before, that he would oftentimes talk about communicating with Trump, but it was always when he was president or the post-presidency, I had no idea. I will be interested to know how it was that they've known one another since 2011.
We're going to have to get him on.
Maybe Trump had an auction or something. Or maybe Trump was, driving through one day and listening to talk radio and heard him there. Who knows? I don't think it was from Scramblers, though, because I would have noticed. Well, we haven't been at Scramblers since 2011. All right, coming up, there's a couple of real crazy stories going on, and one of them making headlines yesterday, the United Healthcare CEO getting shot in what is assumed, based off of the behavior of the shooter, believed to be an assassination. Lying in wait. According to a witness, he noticed this individual had been essentially lying in wait for an extended period of time. A witness said, yeah, no, I saw the guy there. Now, witnesses. But it appears as if he knew the patterns of this particular CEO. There are questions as to whether he was a hired assassin or if he was doing this for personal reasons. Now, I'm not an expert in these things, but according to the latest reports, there were messages left at the scene on the bullet casings, which to me mean, well, on one hand, you think that seems more personal, but I suppose if he was a hired assassin, whoever hired him probably did so for personal reasons and could have, as part of the hiring, said, I want on these bullet casings these messages left. So the latest reporting here is that new evidence suggests that the suspect who killed United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson on Wednesday may have left a message behind on the bullet casings at the scene. Police sources told the New York Post that the words deny, depose, and defend were written on the live rounds and casings left behind by the assassin after the shooting. Evidence also shows that each bullet and casing had just one word written on it, leading them to believe that he may have been trying to leave a message. And the culprit fired off several shots. There's a video, of course, of it that shows Thompson walking down a New York City sidewalk when the masked man wearing a black hooded jacket and a backpack walked up behind him and raising a handgun. Following the shooting, the suspect walked between two vehicles, got onto a bike, then disappeared into Central Park. It was previously reported that the suspect used a city bike, which can be tracked, but the NYPD has clarified that the incident did not involve that sort of bike, so they were not able to track him. Investigators hope accompanying evidence left behind will help identify him, including a cell phone discovered in an alleyway near the hotel where the shooting occurred, as well as a cup in a trash can at a nearby Starbucks. United Health Group released a statement expressing their condolence and surprise at the day's events. And while this isn't, it's New York, and we have seen over the last several years, like so many other Democrat-run cities, this disarray and the cultural shift in which it's clear criminals feel as if they are in charge. And in many ways, they are. The recognized leniency of punishment, the revolving door, the ease with which many of these individuals, even those who are accused of murder, are let out on bail. And it really gives a criminal this sense of, I can get away with it. We are the ones in charge. We have the upper hand here. So it isn't anything new in terms of the violence and the killings that have been occurring at an increasing rate in New York. Or, again, any city across the country. But there's just something more, I don't want to use the word almost movie-like. Here you've got a CEO of a company, an insurance company. There's obviously a lot of speculation as to, well, we don't know the motives. I think that it's possible that the demonization of insurance companies potentially could have fed into this sort of thing occurring. There have been storylines written about individuals who have denied insurance claims being targeted. I think I've seen at least one Law and Order episode where somebody who was with an insurance company denied a claim for somebody's sick child, and then they were killed for it. And so I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility that the motivation could fall within that realm. But we'll perhaps see, though, if we never find out who the assassin, if you want to refer to him as an assassin, is, I think at this point it wouldn't surprise me either, given that there are these massive drones flying over New Jersey, which it's almost this spy balloon situation again. And I'm not sure if you've been following this, but people in New Jersey, increasingly, they're filming these massive drones that are flying over the city. And they've been doing it since apparently mid-November. And somehow we can't figure it out. Even though they come back every single night, apparently. Even though average citizens, much like the spy balloon that flew over, were able to track it with an efficiency that no department in our government apparently could. I say apparently because who knows? Of course, we would learn that they were lying about when they knew about the balloon and so forth, that China balloon. Right now, the government's like, oh, you know what? It's nothing to worry about. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I also remember that we were told the Chinese spy balloon was, nothing, no big deal. It was just the wind blowing it around. It wasn't controlled. It wasn't flying over anything significant. It wasn't transmitting information. All of these things, which turned out to be lies. So I don't exactly trust our government when they claim that these drones that are being seen every single night over parts of New Jersey, including near one of Donald Trump's golf courses, that I just don't believe them. But I also know that so many people in government are incompetent as well. So you got that going. Just who knows? Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line 447 KSGF. I'm Nick Reed. There's I think it's an interesting, wouldn't say trend, that has been occurring post-election, and that is the inability of Democrats to all get on the same page with the same messaging. This bit of a civil war in terms of messaging and how we move forward is really spilling out beyond the usual amount of time. This isn't an uncommon thing that we see in primaries for Democrats, particularly presidential primaries in which the Democrats do not have an incumbent running. And so, they're just all tearing at each other. The last time we really saw that was 2020. That would have been that primary in which Kamala Harris famously labeled Joe Biden a racist, and then they all labeled him a racist. And we've sort of learned over time that Democrats really do like racist because that's the one guy they picked, the old white guy that all of the Democrats labeled as a racist and a segregationist, and that's the one the Democrats went with. Who knew? Well, I think a lot of us knew, but it's just you see it really bubble to the surface. But, once that stuff's over, they all come together. I mean, Kamala Harris, who said she believed the former staffer who accused Joe Biden of violent sexual assault and believed Joe Biden was a racist, decided, I'm going to get on his ticket and I'm going to help him win the presidency as a woman of color, So they do a very good job of coming together. But this election loss is one that runs so deep into the soul of the Democrat Party. There's a real disarray there because you have some Democrats who recognize what's going on. Let's call them the sane Democrats, relatively speaking. They may not agree with the average American. They may think that the average American is adult, but they get it. They're like, okay, the trans thing and the DEI thing and the open border thing and the labeling parents at school board meetings as domestic terrorists thing, and they're like, okay, I can see why we ended up we were kind of off. Okay. And then the economy, the inflation. So they may think that Americans just don't appreciate and understand the things that Joe Biden did, but they can at least recognize really, truly why they lost. Then you have what I would say is the younger half, younger half of the Democrat Party who think that the party isn't to the left enough. And it's not that they believe that if they go further left, that is something that would somehow win people over with the results. They just don't really think that it matters. The results do not matter. We heard that theme with the last presidential election. It didn't matter whether the border was open. It didn't matter if the economy was bad. What matters is we're the good guys, they're the bad guys. And we just have to make sure that we, the good guys, stay in power and the bad guys don't stay in power. Within the Democrat Party, you have these two very fundamentally different ideas of what it is that people in government should do. You have the old school Democrats that believe, hey, we need to make life better for people in terms of their daily lives, whether they feel safer, whether it's easier for them to have a paycheck cover the grocery bills, whether they recognize that our country is secure. That's what we need to do. Sure, we may have different ideas of how to get there, but ultimately that is what we need to do as elected officials. Whereas the other half of the Democrat Party is, that stuff's irrelevant. We just need to be in power because we are better. We are the good guys. And if that means we have to shame the voters into voting for us, we have to scare them, whatever. It's a marketing message issue for them. Not a substance issue, but a marketing message issue. And this is why it's a much bigger problem for the Democrats than the fact that they just lost the election. We've seen in the past, and I would use the mid-'90s as an example, in which Bill Clinton, president of the United States, and then Democrats just got shellacked during the midterms. And the Democrats recognized, okay, they all recognize, all right, what we're saying is not resonating with people. You had Hillary Care thrown in there. There were a number of things that Democrats recognized made them seem disconnected from the average American, and so they changed their messaging. They even changed their approach. I mean, you had a deal made between Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich in terms of the contract with America, in which Bill Clinton gave a lot of stuff up. Welfare reform was part of it. There were a lot of things that angered the left wing. But ultimately, the party was run by people who had this recognition: we need to provide results for people. But that's, and so the difference may have been, how do we do that? But that's not what the Democrats are dealing with now. Now the divide is, okay, here are the Democrats that say we need to make life better for the average American, and then here's the half that says the results don't matter. We are the good guys. That's all that matters. We just have to market that better. And that lack of unity is spilling over into all things that are going on. And you see it with the Hunter Biden situation. You have everything from some Democrats out there saying this is awful, this is horrible, this is really bad for the Democrat Party, this is something that is gravely disappointing, to others in the Democrat Party that are justifying it. The same Democrats who touted Joe Biden as so honest and ethical because he said he wouldn't do this are now saying, no, he should have done it. He had no other choice because Donald Trump. With their scrambling to justify this comes hilarious screw-ups, and because they'll grab anything they can find. Esquire is forced to delete an entire article because of disinformation. You have on The View, one of their hosts tweeting something out that ended up being just complete disinformation. And generally, it's trying to be like, well, they did it too. We got to take a break. We got a traffic update coming as well. I'm Nick Reed. KSGF.com, Christmas in the Ozarks. 'Tis the season, parades, light displays, places to see Santa. Head over to KSGF.com, find out what is coming to the Ozarks, what's already here this holiday season. Brought to you by the good people at Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air.
Springfield's Talk 1041, your first alert forecast from Color 10, Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today it'll be sunny and breezy with a high near 32. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 18. For your Friday, sunny with a high near 45, and on Saturday, sunny with a high near 55.
Esquire forced to delete an entire article and offer an apology in the form of a note after it spread disinformation regarding past Republican presidents and the individuals that they pardon. They falsely claimed that George H.W. Bush pardoned his son Neil Bush, which did not happen. Esquire publishes a screed against Republicans with such an unbelievable error it had to be completely deleted. Gateway pundit notes. Actually, that is coming from The Blaze. While Americans on both sides of the political aisle debate whether Joe Biden should have pardoned his son, one entry into the discourse made an astonishingly embarrassing error. The Esquire magazine article by Charles P. Pierce lambasted Republicans for criticizing Biden based on the historical precedent of Republican former President Herbert Walker Bush pardoning his own son Neil Bush. The problem is that never happened. It's completely fabricated. Eventually, the humiliating error was discovered. Esquire issued a correction with an editor's note. This story has been updated. An earlier version stated incorrectly that George Herbert Walker Bush gave a presidential pardon to his son Neil Bush. Esquire regrets the error. But as usual, they don't regret it. It's just like a regret. Well, yeah, it sucks. What are you going to do? This is the thing that once upon a time would cause a journalist to lose his or her job. And they would lose their job because there was this desire by institutions to at least appear, and maybe actually they genuinely wanted to be, providers of reliable news. And they understand that reputation is important. And if you have somebody print information that is not only so wildly inaccurate, but so easily checked, this sort of thing isn't as if, well, there's only a few people who know the truth, and I'm receiving this information through a deep throat style individual, and so anonymous sources. This is all public information. It's not that difficult to check whether or not this sort of thing is true. See, this is what I would really genuinely like to know when you have some major media outlet print something that is so easily provable as false. And I don't know that you could ever get a straight answer out of the person who prints or reports information that's so easily provable false. But if you could, I don't know, hook them to a lie detector. First off, did you know that this was false information? If the answer is no, where did you get it? And did you not think to check this? Did you, I mean, do you not care about your credibility? I think that at times it is easy to be wrong about information, particularly this sort of format, unlike print, where you have a deadline and you have all this time to check and double check and triple check. But a lot of times the conversations on a format like this are on the fly. In fact, I would argue that radio, perhaps live television also, is the most accommodating for misinformation mistakenly to be put out there. Because with print and even podcasts, you could go back, if you could fact check some things before you post it and edit things out. With print, of course, before it published, you could go through and every claim that is made, hey, we need to check this, we need to double check, make sure that this is absolutely true. On a format like this, however, you could have people call in, or news sort of pops up, or you referencing something that happened some time ago, and even with it, and maybe it's because of that format, I'm just always very, very, very concerned about making sure that information is accurate, and when it's not, making sure that it's corrected, because credibility it's a tremendous issue. These people that are so-called journalists today, they just seem detached from any sort of desire to be seen as credible. And the point A to point B of taking information and printing it in particular, where you have the time to check and to double check your work with information that is so easily provable as untrue, it just, to me, that would be so fireable because it's so preventable. Yet nowadays, it's just slap some sort of, oops, an oopsie daisy on it. Hey, we regret the error. What are you going to do? The View co-host blames ChatGPT after making pants-on-fire claim about Biden pardon. The View co-host Ana Navarra admitted that she relied on information given by ChatGPT after she was mocked for sharing false information about presidential pardons in her defense of Biden. She wrote on X, Woodrow Wilson pardoned his brother-in-law, Hunter DeButts. Bill Clinton pardoned his brother Roger. Donald Trump pardoned his daughter's father-in-law, Charlie Kushner, and just appointed him ambassador to France. But tell me again how Joe Biden is setting precedent. Navarro's bizarre claim about Woodrow Wilson's pardon of a fictional brother-in-law named Hunter DeButts instantly raised eyebrows. Social media users and news outlets quickly fact-checked Navarro before she owned up to making her mistake the next day. Now, again, instead of being humiliated, she, makes a post sort of joking about, oh, oops, there goes Chat GPS again. Hey, Twitter sleuths, she posted, thanks for taking the time to provide context. Take it up with ChatGPT. Another with a crying, laughing emoji. So here you have a person who's paid, I don't know how much, by ABC News to be on a program that is categorized as a news program, out there utilizing herself and her credibility, if you want to call it that, uses ChatGPT on what is, you're supposed to take her seriously and the show seriously when it comes to these news of the day items. Doesn't fact check it, puts it out there as if it's her own knowledge. Then when it turns out to be horrifically incorrect, oh, that's ChatGPT, LOL. No embarrassment. No sense of responsibility. And I think that's another characteristic that is missing when it comes to journalism. And I know, you and I don't see some of these people as journalists, but the networks that hire them do. There's no sense of responsibility to their viewers or their readers. There's no sense that these are people who are tuning in or getting online and reading these articles or listening because they trust me. I have credibility with them. I owe them to do my best. None of that whatsoever. In fact, when they screw up and make their followers look like idiots, because you know that somebody like Ana Navarro has followers that repost that out, get online. Well, I'm really going to show my Trump-loving friends, those idiots, they don't even realize that this isn't anything new, and so then they look like idiots. There's no sense of responsibility. And there's just this total vacuum of character with the main providers of news in this country any longer. Incidentally, if I may, there's been several references to, well, Donald Trump pardoned his daughter's father-in-law, Charlie Kushner, and then made him ambassador to France. Now, there's two things about this that should be noted. One, The people who tell us how horrible and depraved and immoral and corrupt Donald Trump is because of things like that use that behavior to justify their guy. The guy that they claim is better. Well, you can't really have it both ways. You can't, on one hand, say that your guy, Donald Trump, is horrible, corrupt, and immoral. Our guy is above it all. But then at the same time, justify your guy's behavior by saying, well, he's just like your guy. Well, according to you, our guy is horrible. Secondly, do you ever notice when they throw out, well, Donald Trump pardoned his daughter's father-in-law, they don't really talk about what that pardon was, what the crime was? You ever notice that? See, that's where your curiosity should be piqued. I'll tell you what the crime was and when it was. Do have to get a traffic update. I know it's a horrible thing to tease you over, but it'll be a quick one. Springfield's Talk 1041, I'm Nick Reed. Springfield's Talk 1041. My name is Nick Reed. Some in the Democrat Party are scrambling to justify what they once upon a time claimed, made Joe Biden so wonderful is that he wouldn't pardon his son. And that was proof that he respected our judicial system. He respected our form of justice. And now they're like, well, it's different now. One of the reasons they throw out is, well, Donald Trump pardoned his daughter's father-in-law, Charlie Kushner. Number one, you could argue he should not have done it. But these are not comparable, other than the fact that you're talking about pardons. Outside of that, not comparable. That's like saying pardoning somebody, like all pardons are equal. So you pardon somebody because 30 years ago They stole gum, and because of 3 strikes, you're outlaws, went to prison for 30 years. And that's just the same as pardoning someone who raped 8 children. I think most people would agree that not all pardons are equal. I mean, if they were, then there wouldn't be any discretion needed. There wouldn't be any, well, that person deserves a pardon, that one doesn't. It's just everyone would get a pardon. The pardoning of Charlie Kushner was from a crime that he pled guilty to back in 2005. So we're talking 20 years ago. And it was illegal campaign donations to Democrats. And then they threw in, I think, tampering with a witness because his wife's brother, I don't know the details of it, but he was, trying to pressure him not to talk to investigators. Since then, since pleading guilty, and by the way, serving his time, I think it was 8 months. I forget the exact amount of time. It wasn't a tremendous amount of time. It may have been a few years even. But he served all of his time for making illegal campaign contributions to Democrats. He is straight and narrow, apparently. Does a bunch of charitable work, all that sort of jazz. So Donald Trump gave him a pardon. Now, some people may say, well, he shouldn't have done that. He should not have pardoned somebody who served his time 20 years ago for making illegal campaign contributions to the Democrats. But you certainly cannot compare that to Joe Biden, who claimed that he would never pardon his son from having to serve any time for any of his crimes, and pardoning him from any crimes that he may have committed that may be discovered within the last 11 years. To claim that is the exact same thing, somehow that it is even remotely comparable to Trump pardoning someone who made illegal campaign contributions to the Democrats 20 years ago and served his time, is ludicrous. And that, by the way, that's why the Democrats who make that comparison never mention what Charlie Kushner got himself in trouble for. They never mention the fact that he actually served his time. They never mention the fact that it was because he was colluding around with Democrats. No. See, that's how those are the red flags that you see, that lack of information. When you go, well, I wonder what he did. If they're not telling you, if they're not giving you the details, it's because they're very inconvenient details. Springfield's Talk, 1041, I'm Nick Reed. Don't forget, A1 Custom Car Care, all of your car care needs. Oh, the weather has gotten cold. You may feel it having a hard time turning over. Have that battery checked. Have your hoses, your fluids checked, your belts checked, everything, your tires as well when it comes to making sure you are ready for winter. It's much more than just a comfort issue. It can be an issue of safety as well. And then, of course, just a couple days away, every Saturday, 10 a.m., the show A1 Custom Car Care with Dustin Atwood and our very own Sarah Myers. Fuel additives and Christmas gift ideas for the car lover in your life coming up this Saturday with A1 Custom Car Care. Author of the Week, 8 o'clock hour. Again, Christy Fulnecki. And the next, I'm Nick Reed. Springfield's Talk 1041. My name is Nick Reed. I'd like to welcome you all to the show and also remind you for the holidays, every so often, maybe you want to just have a special little drink, a beverage, Bradford Light, easy go-to, tailored for the hardworking men and women who appreciate the reliable, easy drinking experience. Only 3.8% ABV, which is alcohol by volume. Those that don't know, it's modest. Golden Elixir, tribute to the industrious spirit that defines the heartland, and you can get it at Area Macadoodles and Price Cutter. It's a good just keep on reserve. It's a good daily. It's that good go-to, something that you can safely offer people with a guarantee that if they like good beer, odds are that they're going to like Bradford Light. And like I said, you can now pick it up. It's in the market. Up until recently, the only way to get it in the area was to go to a Springfield Cardinal game. Hammond's Field had it on tap there, and by can, I think, as well. But now, like I said, you can get it at Area Price Cutters and Macadoodles. All right, let's see which microphone I think you're going to be using today. I believe that would be it. Christy Volnecki, everyone.
It's a little short here. Yes.
Why don't you poke it into that one?
Well, I can't now because I won't be able to hear.
Okay, well, do what you want.
Everyone had a great Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you.
Yes.
You had a lot of. Was the whole family together?
Yeah.
All right.
We were in New Orleans.
It's just amazing to me that with the number of children you have and how spread out they are, that you're able to, as often as you do, get together.
Yeah. Well, it's not an accident. It's a lot of planning, obviously.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I was thinking because coordinating flights for one daughter in Maryland, one in Oklahoma, the one that goes to LSU is already down there. So obviously that wasn't far. We had an Airbnb in New Orleans. And then after Thanksgiving, my daughter that's in Maryland, I flew her boyfriend down there so she could see him because she hadn't seen him in 6 months or she's been gone since June. So it was great. It was so fun. And, you know, the atmosphere. And people think, oh, you take kids to New Orleans. It's really cool, the history and, you know, walking around the music and the food. And obviously I wasn't taking my kids out on Bourbon Street at night. So, but we did walk around and we showed them one. Yeah, right. And so we did walk around. We kind of showed them everything.
Now, so were you there Thanksgiving Day?
Well, yeah, we were there. Actually, we were there for a week, and then kids flew in at different times. And the main reason, the reason we were there was because LSU played OU on that Saturday. So I have two kids. Each of my kids are at those schools at LSU and OU. So there were a lot of fights and not fist fights, but they're getting pretty mad. Like a lot of like rivalry football, especially between siblings. So that was interesting. And so I didn't know what to wear because I was trying to find a half and half shirt, but Etsy from like China, it was going to take too long. So I had an OU shirt on. And then
labor just doesn't.
That's right. I had an OU shirt on and then a purple jacket. So I figured whoever's winning, I could take my jacket off. I'd be OU fan and put my jacket back on. Yeah, that's how that worked.
Follow
LSU won. Yeah. I mean, it was great the first half, but then OU wasn't doing that great second half. But
so then, did you do a traditional Thanksgiving dinner in the Airbnb, or did you go to a restaurant?
Normally, we all cook because each kid is assigned to something, and so we actually just went to the Omni and ate there. They had a full. It was so nice. They had a Thanksgiving. That's the first time we've ever been out on Thanksgiving to dinner. So it was really nice. But the kids are like, one of my kids is like, thank goodness I don't have to make that green bean casserole. I'm like, I love green bean casserole. So they were very excited that they didn't have to cook.
Yes. Well, I'm glad it was a good time.
Yeah, it was great. And, you know, it's so funny. You know, you realize, especially as much as we travel, how not politically correct the country is. I mean, like the everyday, you know, it was so funny. I'm going to tell the story. So Jackson Square is in the middle of the French Quarter in New Orleans. So there's always musicians playing and all this stuff. So the one day that we were there, they had this kind of team of guys and they were bringing people from the crowd and they would do different things. And so we just happened to be walking by and they had four men standing there, and they were having them do different things. So one of the guys was an Asian guy. And so they got down to him because the white guys were having do these funny dances. It was really funny. They were probably, in their 50s or 60s. And so the Asian guy's standing there, so everybody had their turn already. And so then the guy walks over to him and he's explaining what kind of dance he's going to do. And he's standing there and he said, "Well, before we do this, we have to bow to each other."
Okay.
And so he bowed to him. And then they started playing Kung Fu fighting. And I started, it was like Kung Fu fighting.
What was the
The crowd, there's probably, I don't know, close to 80, 90 people. Everybody was roaring. They were laughing so hard. And he's like, "Come on, Asian guy. Come on, Asian guy."
did he say? Is that what he called?
Yes, he started calling Asian guy. And then they were doing the fighting and jumping
That's
around
funny.
and karate.
See, now
and they did cartwheels. And I was laughing. And I looked around and I thought, "Oh my gosh, you're in the middle of New Orleans." And everybody was dying laughing. They thought it was so funny.
I mean, that is a flashback, if you will, to a time when we all got along. We could goof on each other, play off each other's, and we just got along. You make fun of me, I make fun of you in a fun natured way. And before the left, culturally took over and just started pitting everyone again, like Mean Girls. You know what he said about you, or you know what they said about you. Like they just get off on controlling people and taking what otherwise are harmonious people that can have a good time and sort of razz each other and enjoy it and get along, and then just get toxic. And so it's nice to see that that sort of thing can still.
So culture is changing, that people are just not afraid to come out and do things like, the Trump dance and stuff. So
Trump.
That's right. Oh, you gotta have the YMCA, Sarah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's gotta pull that up.
Christy Fulnecki with us. Let's get a news update. Also some weather, traffic as well. Then we'll continue on. I'm Nick Reed.
And the first alert forecast from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. Today it'll be sunny and breezy with a high near 32. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 18. For your Friday, sunny skies with a high near 45, and on Saturday, sunny with a high near 55.
Tomorrow morning, don't forget we have a hero's breakfast thanks to Delta Roofing, the Warrior's Journey, Air Services, Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, Electrical, and, of course, the good people at Scramblers. Veterans tomorrow morning as we broadcast live 6 a to 9 a at Scramblers. Free breakfast for you. There it is.
Oh,
There's your Trump pump
sing-
music.
Yes. You have to do it, Nick. Come on.
Yeah.
We're doing the Trump pump in the
Mhm.
studio,
Yep,
everybody.
you're watching on YouTube.
Yes.
Sponsored by Springfield Wraps. You can see that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, this story, Jennifer Oliver O'Connell, Red State, Trump's scathing Wall Street Journal takedown shows why we're glad mean tweets are back. So the Wall Street Journal had a story that opened. Donald Trump's pick to run the DEA withdrew, and his selection for defense secretary faced growing skepticism from some GOP senators, marking the latest challenges to the president-elect's efforts to staff his second term's top position. Trump immediately responded, with the Wall Street Journals becoming more and more obnoxious and unreadable. Today's main headline is Trump's DEA pick pulls out in latest setback. With all that's happening in the world, this is their number one story of the day. Besides, he didn't pull out. I pulled him out because I didn't like what he said to my pastors and other supporters. But more importantly, what's my latest setback? I just won the presidency of the United States. They haven't written a good story about me in years. Somebody over there ought to look at what they're doing. The only one worse than them is stupid China-centric Forbes magazine.
I mean, that guy is epic.
You know, he's going to sit down with, let's see, it was just announced, Kristen Welker this weekend, evidently.
When? This weekend?
Yeah.
Oh.
Just the News is reporting that NBC on Wednesday announced that President-elect Donald Trump is scheduled to sit down with host Kristen Welker this weekend for the first televised interview since winning the presidential election last month. It is expected to air during Meet the Press on Sunday morning at 10:30 a.m., but highlights will be teased and released before the show. The interview itself will take place on Friday. I kind of wish that he would just do these live if he's going to do them, because they edit this stuff up.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Or at least have somebody, and maybe he will have somebody else there filming the entire interview. That way,
Well,
if they,
that'd be good.
yeah,
That's a
if
good
they
idea.
edit stuff up, then he can release it and be like, "Hey, here's what actually was said."
I'm sure that he just writes these himself. Don't you think? His tweets. Did you see the Thanksgiving?
I do believe. I used to
Yeah.
not believe that.
think
I
he
believe
does.
that now.
I totally think he does.
I think so.
Did you see this Thanksgiving one? Did you read it? Thanksgiving.
I think so. Yeah, please do.
Happy Thanksgiving to all, including to the radical left lunatics who worked so hard to destroy our country, but who have failed miserably, but who have miserably failed and will always fail because their ideas and policies are so hopelessly bad. I like his adjectives. That the great people of our nation just gave a landslide victory to those who want to make America great again. And then he says we're going to be strong, fair. But I like how he's like, happy Thanksgiving to all, including you radical left lunatics.
Just make sure no one's left out.
I was like, that is the best Thanksgiving message I think I've ever heard. Oh,
So
that's great.
yeah, if you, I don't know if you heard, but Biden pardoned old Hunter.
Yes.
Not just for the crimes that
know.
he's had to plead guilty to or been convicted of,
I know.
but also any that haven't been discovered yet.
Yes.
And it's I'm sure a coincidence that Joe Biden gave the get out of jail free card for anything you've done since you started working at Burisma
You know, that is not
in Ukraine.
It's not constitutional. I mean, I was so shocked. I can't believe, like, okay, by the way, yeah, this is retroactive.
Now, I
Going
will say,
back to your
well,
teenage years.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And anything you may do in the future, and anything that you're thinking about doing.
I can't wait till he does his own pardon.
I was
Yeah.
I knew it was going to happen. Now I don't know that I was surprised, but I'm not sure that I thought of him pardoning Hunter for things that he hasn't been caught on yet.
Yeah.
That's
I know.
well, and
Well,
he's
I mean, nothing's
also
you know, the surprising thing to me is how some of these liberals are having a meltdown about it. I was actually shocked about that.
well. Some are defending it.
Yeah.
There is such a fraction in the Democrat Party right now.
It's so awesome. I love
because the one thing that has generally given a lot of Republican supporters angst is the fact that Democrats are always on point message, whereas Republicans are not.
Right.
But they are just in complete disarray right now. So you have a mixture of some, and I think that some of the Democrats who are expressing anger at this, because I think that's just frustration. They feel as if this is a guy, we're supposed to be working together here, particularly in the media. We do what we can in order to make you look good.
Yeah.
But it's like you're working against us here. There's got to be some teamwork. And I think it's gotten to the point for a lot of them where they're just ticked off because they feel as if Biden is kicking them, throwing them under the bus.
Yeah.
And just like, I don't care what work you've done for me. I don't care anymore. And I think they're angry about that. But then there are others that hate Trump and Republicans so much that overrides any sort of aggravation. So they come to his support.
Yeah. And I saw, I can't remember what his name is on MSNBC, and he was on some Zoom call and he was really upset and, saying, how could he do this to us? And I'm thinking, you have no right to be mad because you're the idiots that have followed him for so long. So, I mean, if you had any kind of integrity, you would know that his whole life he's been lying. So why are you now trying to blame him? It's your fault for believing him and following him, okay? I mean, you're the idiot.
Yeah, you just want to go, we don't believe that you really thought he was not going to pardon you.
Yeah.
And if you're that big of an idiot, then shame on you.
That's what I think. Yeah.
Well,
and
now,
Trump's not following the law, and Biden is always law-abiding.
Well, Politico yesterday dropped a report that indicates Biden may start pardoning anyone and everyone that may have done things illegal, particularly trying to overthrow the Trump presidency or go after J6ers, and give them all pardons. That way they can't be held accountable for it. The outlet notes that the regime has become panicked since Trump announced that he was picking Kash Patel to drain the deep swamp, and that there are a number of different names on the list that he is thinking about giving, just essentially any sort of pardon that he can. Adam Schiff being one of them, Liz Cheney being one of them, and a few others as well. Anthony Fauci, perhaps. All individuals. It's funny because they claim, it's because Trump's going to go after these people. But the talk of pardons are only for people who have done potentially illegal things.
Yeah, right.
It's like, because if you're going to claim it's just for political opposition, there'll be lots of people you can point out, be like, well, then why didn't you pardon that person?
Yeah, right.
Why is it people that there is evidence that they broke the law or did something illegal?
So, what I was thinking, has there ever been a pardon on potential crimes? I thought you had to be convicted in order to be pardoned. I've never heard that you can do anything that someone will potentially. I don't think that's constitutional, but it'll be interesting, this whole separation of powers, how this is going to play out, because you would have to bring a suit to bring it to the Supreme Court. And
and here's a thing that I'm sure someone's thought about it and talked about it. The whole thing is being painted as, well, he loves his son. Joe, if you look at the emails between these family members from that laptop, it's Jerry Springer on steroids. These people, they say the most horrible things about one another. This is not what one would consider a traditional loving family. That's total and complete BS.
Yeah.
The words that they call each other, the accusations that they use against each other.
Yeah, they're totally dysfunctional.
I don't think we should dismiss the idea that the reason that Joe Biden did this is because Hunter Biden's like, I'll start talking if you don't.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
And
self-preservation.
And it's not just you, but it's Jill, and it's the 10 other family members that have LLCs set up and bank accounts in which, because there are 11, including grandkids, that receive money from communist China and the Russians and all these other countries that were funneling through the LLCs. And I mean, clearly Hunter Biden has enough information that, if all things were honest, would put so many people in prison that are individuals that Joe Biden probably cares about. So I don't think we should dismiss the idea that this wasn't, that wasn't part of a threat, that you will do this or I will bring down everything.
Americans, I think, will be outraged if he does this blanket pardon for Comey and Liz Cheney and Fauci, especially after everything coming out now about the vaccines and Fauci.
I think what
I
will
I mean that guy, if anybody, should be prosecuted.
I think that his family members will have more of an implication, because he could argue, as ridiculous as it is, that, well, these are political people that have gone after Trump, and so Trump is going to try to get them. But if he pardons his brother, which a lot of people think he will, there would be no reason whatsoever. You can't buy that, oh, he's going to go after his brother for something, because his brother hasn't ever done anything to Trump. So they can't argue that, well, I have to protect him from Donald Trump. And I think that it's just going to become more and more clear, and to most Americans it is, that so...
Convicted to pardon them. So
Well, they haven't even been accused of anything legally.
nobody's been charged or convicted. There's not even one charge. That's what I don't understand. Like, I think that's so unconstitutional. How can you not have someone charged or,
But Trump's a dictator.
I know, that's right.
Chrissy Falnecki with us.
You can do that for the whole country.
Well, yeah. I mean, how great is that? And what message does that send?
Yeah, right. I know.
To future, of course, this would only apply to Democrats, to their children. Like, you can do whatever you want.
Right.
Break whatever law you want. You can, he's been accused of human trafficking, among other things, and just do whatever you want, because it is acceptable now in this country for your dad to just say, no, don't worry about it. You can do whatever the hell you want, and you don't, and you will get a pardon. Because if Joe Biden, which evidently he's allowed to do, or going to be allowed to do, can pardon his son to some arbitrary date, which isn't arbitrary, it goes back to when he started at Burisma in Ukraine,
right.
Then you can have a president with any and all of his kids, or anyone for that matter, just be like, yeah, I pardon them for their entire lives, no matter what crimes they've committed, and whatever crimes and why not pardon for the future as well? If you can pardon for the past for crimes that you've not even been charged for, then can you not pardon for the future?
Yeah.
Be like, the rest of their life, they can do whatever they want, and they cannot be charged with anything.
Yeah, Congress has to do something. That's ridiculous.
Got traffic in just a couple of moments. Weather as well. Pyramid Roofing Company. Talk and text line 447 KSGF. I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, your first alert forecast from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today it'll be sunny and breezy with a high near 32. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 18. For your Friday, sunny skies with a high near 45. And on Saturday, sunny with a high near 55.
Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. Emily at House Theory Realty was able to guide us from house prep to close. Her knowledge helped us sell our house fast and for more money. The process went smoothly. If you're needing to buy or sell your home, give her a call. Another 5-star review. Emily was absolutely wonderful. She took what to us was a terribly complicated process, made it so easy. She was so knowledgeable, efficient, caring, and kind that the real estate process was effortless. I would recommend her to anyone for all of their real estate needs. You know, they note that it's effortless. It generally isn't effortless for her, but that is what makes her so premier compared to so many others, is that you don't even realize the difficulties and complications that go on behind the scenes because she takes care of it with such ability. So if that's what you're looking for, it's what I recommend when it comes to home buying, home selling. Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. You're talking about the Hunter Biden blanket immunity for any and all crimes he's committed here or the moon or wherever under the sun. And it's so... Well, a couple of things about it. But, you know, we kept hearing after the Supreme Court noted that the president cannot be charged for things that are within the president's scope. Now, that wasn't a change. You had all of the media running around and Democrats running around. The Supreme Court just said Donald Trump could do whatever he wants. He's going to start executing people. No, they said that you can't change the rules because it's Donald Trump. Right. The president has never been subject. Like yes. So the Supreme Court said, no, it's the same as it has always been. Yeah. Yet they have no problem whatsoever with Joe Biden using his presidential authority to pardon his son for crimes that could very well have involved him.
I know. I mean,
isn't this the sort of thing that they're so worried the Supreme Court was going to give Donald Trump the power to do?
Yeah. Well, and that's why they lost, because they're a bunch of hypocrites, and they projected all of their crimes on us, and we're not the ones that did it. So that's why they lost.
It's widely believed at the same time that this pardon is more about protecting everyone else, because what is the number one tool of leverage that is used against someone who is facing prison time if they know about other crimes? And that is hey, we'll cut your sentence. Mm-hmm. You know, we can cut your sentence. This happens all the time. If you ever watch Law and Order, you know, you got Jack McCoy that goes in there and the guy that is sitting on death row or he's facing a prison term of life, and he says, you know, well, I got information on so-and-so. How much time can you take off my, how much can you take off my time? And, well, it depends on the information that you provide us. And so they make deals. Well, if you take away any prison time for somebody like Hunter Biden, there's no leverage to use against him.
But, yeah, right. I know. And I'm sure you're right about him blackmailing his father, because I'm sure that he said, well, I'm going to just start talking. Do something. I mean,
and again, some people would think, well, I don't know if because they're family. If you've read the emails and how they talk to and about each other, particularly when it comes to money.
Yeah.
I mean, he used the C word on numerous occasions to describe his stepmom.
I know.
And he would complain about his dad taking his 10% cut out of the money that he was getting from China and Russia and everywhere else under the sun. So, I mean, it's clear that Joe Biden was part of all this. I mean, it's in
and his brother's
these
wife,
emails.
She was the one that became the drug addict, I think, was the brother's wife.
I think they all did at some point.
Oh.
I mean, when there's cocaine laying around your house and nobody knows, like, I don't know, is it yours? I don't know, maybe it's yours.
The White House.
Yeah, the White
The White House, not just your house.
Yeah. But this, and the thing about it, and this doesn't get talked about, and this is how I know that Joe Biden is part of all this. The talk about Joe Biden getting the 10% cut of all of this money,
right?
It wasn't something that Joe Biden was revealing to somebody in which you could claim, well, maybe he was just trying to impress that person. These are family internal emails. And it wasn't, hey, did you know that dad makes me give a cut? It's referencing it as, and it's clear that everyone knows it in the family. So that's
Yeah,
how
and
you know that it's not like he was complaining about it and then the person on the other end of the email within the family was like, wait, what a minute. What are you talking about? Dad doesn't know about this stuff. That's not how these
yeah, I
communications
know
went.
that's right. And when you hear the congressional members that have listened to everything and that have been involved in the oversight, I mean, they will go on and on about it's just crazy, all the evidence that they have. And it's just and embezzling money and then shaking all these foreign leaders down. And I mean, they're just outraged. I just can't even believe it.
Yeah,
And then nobody was held accountable for the whole entire thing.
and I tell you another thing that is, in my assessment, not true at all. And that is that, all of this was done, Joe Biden getting him in these jobs and everything because he's just a loving father. I do not believe this. Number one, you can love someone and not demonstrate love because love is not an easy thing to sometimes demonstrate.
Yeah.
But if you have a child that is addicted to buying women and addicted to, I mean, he spent millions and millions and millions of dollars on drugs and alcohol. You don't arrange for him to have a job in a foreign country in which he gets millions and millions of dollars, a country where human trafficking and drugs flow. That's not what you do. You don't not only enable that person, but give them access to foreign leaders that he can then extort money from. No, that's not what a loving father does.
Yeah.
That is not loving.
Unless you're getting a lot of money yourself.
I
right?
believe
Yeah.
that this is a backwards perception that people have. People see Hunter Biden as somebody taking advantage of his father. I believe that in all likelihood what was happening is that it was a father taking advantage of a son that acts erratically and will do anything for money in order to pay for his drug habit. And so here, out of all of the people within his world, Joe Biden saw Hunter, which was an absolute train wreck, and used him in order to shake down people. And so this whole loving father thing, I think is total and absolute BS. I think he's a dark, twisted human being.
I think he is too.
Who uses his own, instead of trying to get his son the help that he needs, he uses his son's addictions in order to funnel money into his own pocket.
His daughter too.
Yeah.
I mean,
anyone who takes showers with his own daughter,
showers with her
to
children,
the point that she's
they're in
writing about it in her trauma diary as now recognizing
kids
it.
are traumatized. I bet
But
you.
that's just a loving family. You listen to Claire McCaskill. I mean, it's the Waltons.
Oh my gosh.
The only reason
So
anyone even
evil.
criticizes the Bidens is because they're just jealous of what a close-knit, moral, Norman Rockwell family they are.
The normal demonic family.
You're just jealous.
Yeah, that's right.
Claire McCaskill.
I know.
What a human embarrassment.
I know.
She's beyond an American embarrassment or a Missourian embarrassment. She's a human embarrassment.
She went into hiding, and Obama is.
Well, she's still on MSNBC.
Well, I know.
Which I guess is in hiding.
Yeah, right.
Actually.
Yeah.
Got to take a break. Traffic update more with Christy Fulnecki. a text from the Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line. Yes, very exciting. The play is for Congress to call Hunter to testify. He can't take the fifth because he can't incriminate himself, so he either commits perjury or dishes all the family dirt. So ideally, yes, this is
Yeah,
true.
that would be good. But he
However,
probably won't do
there are a couple of different components here. Number one, Hunter does it anyway. Then what?
that. Yeah,
Hunter says, I plead the fifth, and they say, well, you can't do that. You've been given immunity. And he just says, I plead the fifth. Then what?
yeah.
What are they going to do? Go all the way to the Supreme Court over this?
I
mean, really,
know, I
are
know.
Republicans in Congress really? See, now this is part of the problem the Republicans have created. They have demonstrated that they will not hold people accountable
I know,
who
right.
lie, who
Mhm.
commit perjury before them. Hunter Biden knows that. He knows that the Republicans in Congress, they are not going to come after him. If they didn't go after Eric Holder for committing perjury,
I know,
or Lois Lerner for committing or any of these other people for committing perjury, they're certainly not going to go after Hunter Biden for committing perjury because they won't want to look like they're politicizing things, and it'll look like they're just trying
Well,
to
they
exact
should.
vengeance.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course, but and they've created this recognition. I don't blame Hunter Biden is just being observational. He just why if I were Hunter Biden, I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, and I would just be like, I plead the fifth, like you can't do that, or don't even plead the fifth. Be like, so
I'm not answering.
lie or lie,
Yeah.
just lie about it.
That's right.
Be like, I don't know what you're talking about. No, just totally, completely lie, because he knows they won't do anything.
It's so terrible. It's so
I know,
bad.
and so that's the unfortunate reality. And that assessment is, I believe, a correct one. I've heard a number of people say, well, this may have been a big mistake for Joe Biden because now he can't plead the fifth. What do you think he cares?
I know.
These
that's
are
right.
like all of a sudden they're going to be concerned, and I'm not being critical of the recognition of
Yeah.
what the pardon provides in terms of the inability to plead the fifth. But what happens is a lot of times we view it through the lens of, okay, the rules. Well, they don't play by the rules.
Yeah.
They just don't play. They have
And
no
the
regard for
rules do
anything.
not apply to any of them. I mean,
You
Hillary
gotta
and
be
her emails, I mean, you could go down through the whole list.
Got to be a Republican
That's
for
right.
the rules to apply.
That's right. Yes.
Kind of a different story here.
Okay.
The model of the year was announced. Yes, model of the year, 21-year-old
woman or man or
man
both? Mixed?
who pretends to be a woman.
Okay, I knew it was some
Yes.
kind of
The very first man who is accepted as being a woman, beat out all the real women for model of the year.
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm done like trying to do mental gymnastics, trying to figure out what kind of sex is going on. I mean, and what
Yeah.
if you're half and half,
not gonna
or
do
what is the situation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it would even be a little bit easier if there was some sort of like, let's just say we're like, okay, fine. All right, we all agree. I mean, I don't, but let's just pretend everyone agrees. All right, if you are a man, you can become a woman, and vice versa. If there was at least some standard, right? Like, in order to do that, here are the steps you have to take. But there is no standard whatsoever. You can have a guy with a beard who puts on a dress and does nothing else whatsoever. And he says, I'm a woman, and we're supposed to be like, okay. I mean, it's not, there's no verification process. There's no standard. I mean, if you want to be a hairdresser, you have to do certain things in order to do
Yeah,
it.
right,
I mean,
right.
like virtually every classification, there is a way to define it. There's a definition of it. And this is why some of these idiots on the left are like, well, I don't know what the definition of a woman is. It's because they've created this world where there isn't one.
Yeah. Or you can be whatever you want.
Yeah.
You can be a cat or a dog or a furry or
Yeah.
a man and a woman.
A made-up animal.
I know, that's right.
I mean, these are the I was listening. What Joe Rogan was having a bit of a field day because someone on The View claimed that he believed in dragons or whatever, and he was like, "Oh, that's my new handle, Dragon Believer." And he was having fun. Like, you're gonna make fun of him because you believe that he thought dragons once upon a time lived, and it went actually back to there was some discussion he was having with someone just about dinosaurs and what may with flying dinosaurs, pterodactyls and lizards, and you kind of wonder, oh, did dragon folklore come from that sort of thing? And because of that discussion, made fun of him, claiming he believes in dragons. You believe that a full-grown man can just say I'm a woman, and then he's a woman.
I know.
And you're making fun of Joe Rogan because he believed in dinosaurs. Okay. All right, The View.
Yeah.
The View of moronic
Watch this
idiocy.
I think Republicans use that show more. They watch it more than the liberals because they have to point out how stupid they are.
The View is the single most, to me, unfair and almost immoral representation of women in the United States. It's like, what other program is as top of mind that is a presentation of what are supposed to be intelligent women in this country?
Yeah.
There isn't.
Yeah,
it's like The View, and that's who they put on there.
Now what's the podcaster Charmin or Char? I can't think of his name, but he's a
Charlemagne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was. Did you see he was on The View?
Oh,
and
yeah.
He said something to Whoopi Goldberg,
Yeah.
and he said, "Do you ever think Democrats are wrong?" She's like, "Oh, like
Yeah,
I can't believe you."
that whole and he has a podcast, but he also has a morning show,
okay.
radio show in New York, and so he has been, though he was a Kamala supporter, didn't like Trump. But he also is realistic about certain things. So he's been critical of these Democrats that are defending Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And like Joe Biden lied. He lied about this. And Whoopi Goldberg, he didn't lie, he changed his mind. And so, which now even the word lie has changed. Like, if you're a Democrat, you never lie.
Yeah.
You just change your mind, or the circumstances changed.
Yeah.
So essentially, your word means absolutely nothing. I mean,
Right.
that's the way they define it. Whatever you say, it means nothing because, well, the circumstances can change, and then you can just change.
So
your
there's no
mind.
truth.
So there's no truth,
right.
and so their word means absolutely nothing by their own definition of it. But I was thinking about what is it that makes Charlemagne different in the sense that, I mean, he's a left winger, he's a liberal, but he still calls some of this stuff out, and I think it's because this is a guy, and I know because we played some of the clips on the show before, that he's got a crew of people. And they take calls, and they're primarily black listeners that call in. And there were a lot of callers that were very critical of Biden and the economy, and very critical of Kamala Harris.
Oh, that's interesting.
So
I didn't know that.
Though he doesn't agree with them, he at least is, and he's respectful to them because they're callers.
Yeah.
They're listeners. So, and he may disagree with them and everything, but he recognizes that in his world there are a lot of people who have these disagreements that, some that are Democrats, but they think Joe Biden's corrupt and a liar. And he recognizes them as people that aren't just racist or idiots.
Yeah.
But Whoopi Goldberg, she lives in a bubble. She is not on a daily basis interacting with people that have a different perspective than her. And so that's why somebody like her is able to just be like, nope, Joe Biden didn't lie, just change his mind. Donald Trump's evil. And, it's just black and white.
Yeah. And the women on there, it was so funny because when he started talking about that, he said Democrats just think they're up on their moral high ground. And he just started going off, and you should have seen their faces. They were so shocked, like, I can't believe that somebody we thought was liberal is saying this to us.
Right.
Didn't
he get the memo?
Yeah. I mean, well, at least we know that there are a few free thinkers and independent thinkers in the Democratic Party.
Well, they'll get them.
That's right.
That-
They'll tear him down.
Yeah.
They'll discredit him somehow.
Yeah, maybe he ought to
Yeah, that's right.
send a text or two to old Eric Adams and find out what happens.
So, Joe Rogan, they had
Oh,
Kennedy,
yeah.
they had Tulsi, they had all these people in their camp. So now they're with the new party called the American Party. So we are the
There you go.
We're the American Party.
Chrissy Fonecki, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you much.
Are we done?
Yes, that is the end of the show.
Oh wow,
Of
that was
your
really
part
fun.
of the show. I should
Thank
say.
you.
Author of the Week, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone. Coming up in the next hour, I'm going to have news in 60 seconds. I'm Nick Reed. Heroes Breakfast tomorrow at Scramblers. If you're a veteran, come by 6A to 9A. Our Friday Roadshow at Scramblers, sponsored by Custom Shade Window Tinting, which is powered by 3M Window Film. And then the breakfast for the veterans. That is thanks to the incredible people at Scramblers, the incredible people at Delta Roofing, incredible people at Air Services, Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, Electrical, and the incredible people at the Warrior's Journey. That tomorrow, 6A to 9A. Want to welcome once again to the KSGF family, Grizzly Industrial, open to the public, non-commission, customer service professional. Some of them have decades of experience. And you may think, well, I've seen that place before. Isn't that something that's just for industry? No, it's open to the public. In fact, it is the largest woodworking and metalworking showroom in the world with over 35,000 square feet of machines on display. Over 600 machines. Pick up at stores same day, save on shipping cost if you'd like. Some machines weigh 400 pounds, so you can save a bundle on shipping costs. It's just point being is there's a lot of options, and they can help you through them. 0% financing, and right now, until Christmas, best deals of the year. Whether it's sandpaper or some larger equipment, table saw perhaps. Maybe a new hobby for you. Metalworking, woodworking, they can help you out with it. And if you don't have a lot of time to browse around today or tomorrow, I still recommend that you stop in. They have what I just love. Some consider the old-fashioned catalogs where you can flip through. It reminds me of when I was a kid, and I loved going to my grandparents at Sears catalog, and in the back half of it, it was all the toys. You know, that's what the catalog is like from Grizzly, but for adults. And you can go grab those, and then you can visit the showroom floor when you have more time. So welcome to the KSGF family, Grizzly Industrial, South Kansas Expressway, and Battlefield. Author of the Week coming up. Now, the Author of the Week, sponsored by ABC Books. This is a repeat, but it just seems timely. Particularly, I like in December to do some of the Christmas-related stuff whenever possible. And I had been working, and I'm still working on, sometimes getting these authors booked is as easy as can be. Bam, bam, bam. So easy. And then other times, it isn't so easy. They book, then they got to move it. Then you don't hear anything from them. And it's not the author themselves. It's always the publisher that's doing it. And so I'm still working on that one. But I did want to, in place of that today, re-air one of the more popular Author of the Weeks that we've had, based off the feedback that I received from you all at the time. And it was just about a year ago, in fact, that we had Jason Jimenez on to talk about his book, Hijacking Jesus, how progressive Christians are making him and taking over, or remaking him, rather, and taking over his church. So I think it's very important, and we will revisit that conversation with him coming up in just a couple of moments. Right now, the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. Today it'll be sunny and breezy with a high near 32. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 18. For your Friday, sunny skies with a high near 45, and on Saturday, sunny with a high near 55.
The best part for us about Billy Long being nominated to be commissioner of the IRS is that we don't have to give up the Billy Long song.
I know.
In fact, we had this conversation about how it just, it was sad because our Billy Long song, we just didn't have really use for it any longer. But now we have reason to use it again.
We can continue on.
Yes, and some may be like, well, where did that even come from? Nowhere.
We just do it.
Just one day we're like, belly long, belly long.
You sing, I dance.
Yeah, I mean, it no particular reason. I don't know. It's just the name flows off the tongue, and it just required a little sing along. And for as long as I can remember, it's very difficult for me to talk about then Congressman Long without singing the song. And now we'll be able to have. So now, not only do we have a song that fit a U.S. congressman, a retired congressman, but most likely commissioner of the IRS.
There you go.
So for me, that is the best part of it.
I think so too.
Author of the Week, sponsored by ABC. But congratulations to Congressman Long on that nomination. Author of the Week coming up, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone. Springfield's Talk 1041. My name is Nick Reed, and it is Thursday, which means it's Author of the Week Day, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone. And I want to welcome author Jason Jimenez with us this morning. And the book is Hijacking Jesus, How Progressive Christians Are Remaking Him and Taking Over His Church. Jason is the founder and president of Stand Strong Ministries, faculty member at Summit Ministries, and a best-selling author, national speaker, specializing in biblical worldview training, family ministry, and church leadership. And there's a website, and I'll remind everyone at the end again in case you want to visit it, iwillstandstrong.org, and then standstrongministries.org as well. And now that we have all of that out of the way, of course, you've been the author of numerous books. What made you decide to write Hijacking Jesus?
Well, first, Nick, thank you for having me on, and it's a pleasure to be with you. And I thank you for just motivating people to get Christian books, right, to help people become biblically literate and to sharpen their biblical worldview, which is precisely why I wrote the book. I mean, all my travels engaging people, there's been this stirring up of deconversions, people who've walked away or no longer believe the quote unquote, like air quotes, traditional Christianity. What they mean by that is that what they've been taught about Jesus in the Bible, to believe that the Bible is the authority of God's word, that Jesus came to die on the cross for our sins, and that he rose again physically and literally. A lot of people who are professing to be these reinvigorated Christians or progressive Christians, they deny those teachings that are foundational to the historic Christian faith. And so the more that I was engaging older people and talking to younger people and grandkids and adult kids and teenagers, you're seeing this progressive ideology of Jesus, which has become a hijacking, and they're seeking out conservative Bible-believing schools and churches to indoctrinate them with what they believe to be the true Jesus, and that's why I wrote this book.
I think there are a lot of Christians who, when they hear the terminology hijacking Jesus, or they hear references to maybe Jesus being invoked in a political context, they think that oftentimes individuals that maybe aren't even Christians, they will point to certain political issues and say, well, if Jesus were alive today, he would do this and he would do that. But in fact, in hijacking Jesus and how progressive Christians are remaking him and taking over his church, I don't know if the word is subtle. It's not as clear and obvious, I'd say, as I think a lot of people assume.
Yeah, so like when you say the politicization, you're right in that, and that's where a lot of times I think people are fixated. And so what happens oftentimes is Christians see what they believe to be something that runs contrary, like a social justice movement, and they placate it with Jesus and put Jesus front and center. Jesus would have wore masks. Jesus would have done his booster shot. Jesus would be marching with BLM, that sort of thing, right? Well, that's more of the imagery of portraying Jesus as a woke, inclusive teacher, right? That he embraces all views, all sexuality, all lifestyles, that he did not come to condemn people in their sin, but he embraced people, with inclusivity, with love and peace and joy. Now, those are partial truths. What I show, the hijacking that goes way deeper than that actually leads to that type of announcement, is that they reject progressive Christianity, does not believe in the divinity of Jesus, that he is fully God. They do not believe in the virgin birth, his atonement, that he came and died on the cross for our sins. They don't believe in the second coming. And therefore, they don't believe in a literal, physical, resurrected body. Therefore, as a Christian, right, they don't believe that we will one day have full redemption and receive our resurrected bodies. And so when you look at the heart of that, Nick, what you have is a hijacking. Because in place of that, they strip Jesus of his divinity and his miracles, right, and his purpose of coming into this world to die on the cross for our sins, to bring us from alienation to restoration. And instead, they mask Jesus into this liberator, into this crusader who is a socialist and all that kind of stuff. And more or less, that becomes a humanistic person that has been built and basically publicized and politicized by people, by individuals. And that is a true hijacking that is taking place, not just in the political realm, but in the heart of churches now today. And my heart and passion and desire is not just to inform about this taking place, but to really help Christians truly know and be captured and captivated by the love and passion and forgiveness of Jesus that's illuminated in the authority of Scripture.
We are talking with Jason Jimenez, author of Hijacking Jesus, How Progressive Christians Are Remaking Him, Taking Over His Church. It's always struck me, even before I really began to get a more better understanding as to this particular subject matter. There were certain churches that I'd say are a little more obvious in this category, and I saw it as very appealing to what I would call the instant gratification Christian, or maybe even the lazy. Like, all you have to do is be a good person. That's it. That's really all that there is. I mean, Jesus taught love and kindness, and as long as you are a, quote, good person, then you are fulfilling what it is you need to do in order to get into heaven. Is that an overly simplistic view of this?
I mean, it is in a sense that you're right, that that what's happening is the masses of individuals who have grown up in a very watered down, right, with no doctrine and with no foundational historical theological significance of Christianity. That's how they placate Christianity. It's just about moralism. And so, yes, to your point, Nick, what has happened though over time is that when you do have deeper thinkers, and this is what I charted back in the book because this was important, making the distinction, obviously, for people to understand. Here's what progressive Christianity affirms, and this is where they differ with biblical Christianity, right? And as I said, the hijacking is on the divinity of Jesus all the way to his second coming. But like you said, is one of the things that has taken place with this, like, hey, look, Jesus was a person of peace. Jesus didn't call people out of their sin. Jesus was not about, these binary issues like you traditional Christians do with your rigid doctrine. Now, that's not just an oversimplification. What that is that those are caricatures. That's a mischaracterization of not only Christianity, but first and foremost of Jesus. And so I think it is incumbent upon Christians, just like we see in the early church, is that we have to address those falsities. We have to address them pointedly with love, but we have to correct people with this radicalization of how they're painting Christianity. Because again, just as you know, when you build up a straw man of an argument and you can therefore easily tear it down, that doesn't prove anything. It doesn't even prove your point. And progressive Christians are very good at doing that. They build a straw man against traditional Christianity, they say. But when you really look at the heart of what they're doing, they're actually taking Jesus in Christianity historically out of its proper context. And so over time, people, when they become apathetic or they're not really challenging in their critical thinking skills are lacking, this is where they can become, a victim, if you will, of a false gospel. And so my heart's desire is to really address that. So whether it's apathy or laxity or fear, we really need to draw attention to this because, as I talk about in the book, Nick, it has spiritual implications attached to it. Because if Jesus truly is just, like you said, from the progressive model, he's just a socialist, he was just a liberator. He was just trying to reform Judaism or overtake Roman imperialism, but failed. And his disciples started a religion in honor of him. If that's all it is, then guess what? We're going to be dead in our sins. Yeah. And there's hell. There's eternal damnation. And so I love people enough to speak the truth in love to let them know who Jesus truly is.
I know that a lot of our audience, we have Christians and Christians that seek out the truth. We also have a significant number of those intellectually curious, and those two things together I think are completely and totally awesome. And so I know a lot listening right now, they may wonder, well, wait a minute. What if I'm in one of these churches? What if these are the messages that I'm hearing? And I'm sure there's not, this official list where, if you hear this, that's exactly what this means. But you mentioned straw man arguments and things that are probably effective oftentimes that progressives use. Are there any that you see that are real common that if people are hearing these messages from the pulpit that maybe they should look a little further into this and have a little bit of intellectual curiosity at play?
Oh, absolutely. And that's a great question. I'm glad you asked it because, at the heart of it, I did pastorally, is to come alongside and let people say, let people know, like, hey, when people say certain things that may draw you to question or make you feel a little uncomfortable, what are some of those? So this will help your audience, Nick. Number one, it's how they view truth. See, at the heart of progressive Christianity and a lot of liberal churches is they're postmodern, meaning, that objective truths don't exist. And so your faith journey, what you believe about the Bible or other religions, and most of them are religious pluralists. So Jesus or Christianity is just one path of many. That's a red flag. They have to, so be careful if you're in a church that they're teaching that type of thing, like absolute truth are dogmatic. To say that Jesus is the only way, truth, and life, and no man comes to the Father except through him. If they deny that, that's heresy. So be careful with that. Number two is their view of God. And most progressive Christians believe that the universe is God as God is in the universe. That's known as pantheism. Or they may take a deistic view that God created the universe, but he's not really involved in the affairs of the universe. Okay, that's very dangerous. If another area in the church, they're teaching that the Bible has been corrupted, and you really can't trust the inspiration or to buy into this infallibility, that writers hijacked it through the centuries to make Jesus more of a godlike character. If that church is teaching that or saying Jesus never called out these particular sins, and if you just look in Mark chapter 8 where Jesus clearly calls out sin that defiles a person, and yet they misinterpret that or say that's not the case, we are to take the Bible metaphorically, that is a major red flag. And then the last thing I'd say when it comes to Jesus, if like we were just talking earlier, if Jesus is more just a woke teacher, if he's just more of a liberator or a revolutionist, or another portrayal that progressive Christians have of Jesus is that he was a Jewish mystic. So they teach a lot of mysticism, and that's how they interpret the spiritual symbolism in the Bible. Those are all red flags, which ultimately then leads, and this is what predominantly a lot of people are facing today, is social gospel. And the social gospel is that humans are not born in sin. What we have to do is rid the world from oppressors, and we need to fight for unity. We need to fight peace and justice. Well, the question is, if there is no ultimate standard of justice, then who determines that? So if the church is about that, and they're not about that that we fall short of the glory of God, and it's only through Jesus Christ that we could be redeemed, that is not only a red flag. I would tell those people to leave that church because they are teaching things that are not in support or that affirm the scriptures.
Well, and that leads to my next question, which you answered here, I suppose, to some degree, and that is people, they hear this, and maybe they've been going to a church, and that's the church that they know, and then they realize, I'm being misled here, but they feel lost. They have no idea where to go. What do you recommend?
Well, one, praise God for the work you're doing, because if they can trust the outlets that are in their community where you guys are pointing them to the truth, then they can contact you guys if they find out that they're like in a woke church, or they're an inclusive church, or the church has the rainbow and they're making Jesus out to be someone other than being fully God and fully man. Number one is to know that leave the church. Now, I always recommend people that if it's that outright, then it's really not going to do any good for you to, in love, address it to the leaders, especially if they've publicized it over and over again, like many of the churches have done. And I reported on this. Matter of fact, probably a friend of your show, Elisa Childers, who's a friend of mine, she wrote Another Gospel. She was in the music industry for years. And as she started growing her faith, she found that her and her family were actually attending a progressive church. And she was actually going through discipleship classes under this particular pastor. And there were a couple things that the pastor would say, sometimes in passing, and it just didn't sit right. And then, good for Elisa, she would actually go and look in Scripture and figure out the truth, like Bereans in Acts 17:11. So if somebody finds themselves in that situation where they've done their research, they've looked at the Word of God, and they see that this church that they were a part of for so long, where their kids have grown up in, maybe it's even, I talked to people, Nick, who go to a church where their school's attached to it, and they're kind of going with more white fragility, or Jesus isn't the only way type thing, and they're trying to be all inclusive. I recommend that they actually find a mentor couple, somebody that they can trust, maybe, because here's what happens. Inevitably, they start looking back and saying, oh, that's when, let's say, the Rogers family left, or that's when the Smith family left. And then I encourage people to reach out to those previous members of the church and ask if you can come over or have coffee to really find out why they left and where they're at now. And that we're seeing that happening a lot when these takeovers have taken place. When people are kind of sabotaging these churches that once professed Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, and then are now being dismissive of that and are advancing LGBT critical race theory issues, right, and making Jesus out to be a liberator rather than the Savior. And what's happening is a lot of them are turning to one another in their community and saying, show us the way. And you know what? That's very biblical. And that's what I encourage people. A Christian radio station, a great solid website. They can go to standstrongministries.org. They can email us through our website. We have a series of churches that we affirm that are Bible-believing churches that we support that can help them get plugged in. So those are ways that people can find answers if they find themselves in a progressive church.
And I would ask, finally, with our Author of the Week, Jason Jimenez, a lot of people that listen to this show, to this station, they have kids, they have grandkids, and they worry about them. I think that just because of different media outlets that young people are more in tune with, it makes them easier to connect to or target by progressive churches. And so their parents, grandparents, they don't really know how to communicate with them. Would you tell us about I Will Stand Strong, this movement that you launched back in 2018?
Yeah, that's a great point to kind of lead into as a call to action. If people find themselves in that situation, the I Will Stand Strong, I partnered with two Christian entrepreneurs who are heavily involved in kingdom building, in not just in the corporate world, but also in education and in churches, the Benham brothers, David and Jason Benham. And we partnered with YouVersion, and we created a 30-day challenge where we've had tens of thousands of young people in youth groups and college ministries go through together. And the idea, Nick, is to help, and this is something that we've even used when somebody comes and says, hey, I'm struggling with my relationship with my son or my daughter. They've gone to college, and you kind of hear that story. They deconverted from Christianity. They no longer believe. How do I engage them? We have a resource called Challenging Conversations that if they look me up, Jason Jimenez on Amazon, you can get that. That's a great book to help them dialogue and engage. But also, we've also recommended through the I Will Stand Strong movement for them to really consider doing that 30-day challenge with that grandchild or with that adult or teenage child. And it teaches them how to learn to love God, learn to depend on God's word, and also to live in community. And so it's been a helpful tool. Again, you were saying earlier, how to engage people even beyond a paper book, right? How do you reach them on social media? And the great thing with YouVersion is we know everyone pretty much has that app. And you can access it right there on your phone. And you can go through the 30-day challenge that we do with I Will Stand Strong. And it's been a great tool to really not just get the conversation going with people who are struggling or doubting, but also to help people to grow stronger in their faith in general.
Well, I thank you so much for being with us for the book. Jason Jimenez, the book is, again, Hijacking Jesus, How Progressive Christians Are Remaking Him and Taking Over His Church. This book and all others that are sponsor, of course, for Author of the Week, ABC Books on North Glenstone. Springfield's Talk 1041, I'm Nick Reed.
This is your home for Town Hall SRN.
Better do it.
I'm sorry.
Better get ready.
I just took a bite right as you turned my mic on, so thank you. The first alert forecast from Color 10, Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today it'll be sunny and breezy with a high near 32. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 18. For your Friday, sunny skies with a high near 45. And on Saturday, sunny with a high near 55.
And Caitlin Pack joins us this morning, Springfield Symphony. Hey, how are you?
Hello, I'm great. How are you guys
I'm doing
doing?
wonderful. Did you have a Thanksgiving that was to your liking?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. It was great. How about you?
Yeah, mine was fantastic.
Great.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Anytime we have you here, we know what this means.
It's concert week here at
It
the Symphony.
is concert week at the Symphony. I feel like you were just here.
Yeah, so we had a shorter turnaround this time, but we're really excited because it's our annual holiday show weekend.
Mhm.
So we have 2 shows. We have our free community concert, which we still do have some tickets available for walk up if anybody wants to come join us.
Okay.
So that show is at 2:30 this Saturday at
Okay.
Hammond's Hall. And then we also still have tickets for our full evening performance at 7:30 as well.
Right.
And it's going to be all of your classic holiday
Got it.
songs. And there's going to be a carol sing-along, and we have Mid-America singers and a guest singer, Jennifer Forney, joining us as well.
Oh, I know her.
Yeah, she's
This
fantastic.
is the very first time that you've spoken of someone that is an incredible talent that I can say I personally know this
She
individual.
is absolutely wonderful. So she'll be joining us on stage this week, and she'll actually be joining us on stage for another concert this season as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
Let's see. Now I've got to rethink my schedule here because okay, so that's Saturday and then in the evening, and she performs just in the evening.
Yeah, she'll be at
Okay.
the 7:30 p.m. show.
Okay. All right. Very good. Now that's all I'm focused on.
It's going to be a absolutely fantastic show. We have a full house every year. I mean, who doesn't love getting the holiday spirit?
And I would encourage people who think, well, you can hear the Christmas songs anywhere. If you've not been to this, it's just different.
Absolutely.
It hits the ear so differently.
It's such a fun tradition that we do, and we love being part of our community and other people's family tradition to come see our show every year. And it's just a great way to start the holiday season.
Yeah. And what else?
So we actually are having some holiday package sales
Okay,
right now. So that's
excellent.
really exciting. If you have a music lover who just loves the symphony or just loves music and doesn't always get the opportunity to come, we have some special packages available right now. So we have, you can get 2 gold season tickets for the rest of the year. So that's 5 shows January through May. And you'll have your seat for the whole season. It's really fantastic. And then we also have family packages of 4 and 6. So if you just want to have a fun night
All
out
right.
with your family, have a great experience, get dressed up, go to dinner, then come enjoy some live music with us. We would love to have you.
Well, and then, time of year, people are trying to think of different Christmas gift ideas or holiday gift ideas. And, even if it isn't this year, you got all your gifts purchased. There's always next year as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Any of the packages will be available for January through April concerts. So we would love to have you guys join. It's a great gift to give.
All right, very good. Any upcoming performances people need to plan on?
Yeah, so our next one is coming up real quick. It'll be at the beginning of the year. It's called Summertime.
Oh,
So we're having Summertime in January. It's on January 11th.
Why not?
We'll be featuring music from Porgy and Bess, as well as a fantastic young up-and-coming violinist, Jason Moon, will be joining us on stage as well.
Right, very good. Trying to think of. I think we just went through everything, and so people, if they want tickets, of course, they can go online.
Yeah, always go online to our website, springfieldmosymphony.org, or you can go to hammondshall.org as well, and they can get you taken care of. Or just walk up to the box office or give them a call. You might actually get a little bit of a better deal if you call them or go in person.
Ooh, well, and I was going to say, I think a lot of times, maybe some people, they don't feel comfortable purchasing online, but then they also think, well, night of the performance, it's going to be crowded. And they don't realize that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that they can go during the day.
Absolutely. Yeah,
so that,
Hammond's Hall box office is open, I think it's 10 to 5
Oh,
every
yeah.
day during the week. And so you can give them a call and they'll get you taken care of. It's really quick and easy. We have a great process and we love working with Hammond's.
Fantastic. Well, it's so great to see you again. Are we going to see you before Christmas?
No, I don't
Okay.
think so. It'll be after the
Well,
new year.
then Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you. You guys as well.
All right, Caitlin, thank you so much. Springfield Symphony, Springfield's Talk, 1041. I'm Nick Reed. Springfield's Talk 1041. My name is Nick Reed. Before the Supreme Court right now is an issue regarding kids and transgenderism. Tennessee making it illegal for adults to do these irreversible, whether it's chemical injections on kids or plastic surgery or cosmetic surgeries in order to try and get their bodies to replicate the opposite sex. And there are some that are like, hey, let them do what they want to do. There are others that are they recognize, and I fall into this category, that kids are kids, and claiming that an 8-year-old should be allowed to have cosmetic surgery in order to physically appear more like the opposite sex and then get either a castration or, some other form of irreversible chemical injection in order to alter the growth of their body is not something that a child is equipped in terms of a decision to make for him or herself. We don't allow kids to make a lot of decisions for themselves, and we don't allow parents to make a lot of decisions for children. If you have a 12-year-old girl who wants breast implants because she is not an early bloomer and she is depressed and inside she feels like a big-breasted woman, we do not allow her to get breast implants, even though they can be removed. These are just common sense factors. It's the reason we don't allow children to have sex with adults, because they're not equipped to make those decisions. It's the reason we don't let children marry adults. In fact, anytime there's any sort of discussion about the age of consent to marry being 16, we had this discussion in Missouri at one point, and I don't even remember the context, but it was, interestingly enough, people on the left that were most outraged at the idea that we should allow 15 or 16-year-olds to get married, the idea of that. But to, a marriage which, of course, you can get divorced, being castrated, having certain cosmetic surgeries in order to try and mimic the opposite sex, those are so often irreversible. So it's this vast inconsistency in approach that the pro-sex change operations for kids crowd demonstrates. But the left demonstrates that they're inconsistent quite often. What is just as potentially horrifying, at least intellectually, as this idea that we should allow adults to mutilate children physically is the complete lack of any sort of demonstration of intellect by some on the Supreme Court. One of those individuals is the most recent Supreme Court Justice appointee, Ketanji Brown Jackson, whom you may all recall had the inability to define what a woman even is. One could argue she should recuse herself from this case, given that we're talking about genders, yet she demonstrated and acknowledged that she cannot define genders. How it is that you can rule regarding a particular issue if you don't even know the definition of those issues is something that, to me, would require a recusal from the case. But that doesn't appear to be in the cards here. Here is a point that she is making during the oral discussion yesterday, in which she equates being opposed to this form of mutilation is pretty much the same as being opposed to interracial marriage.
That was sort of like the starting point. The question was whether it was discriminatory because it applied to both races and it wasn't, necessarily invidious or whatever. But, as I read the statute here, the case here, the court starts off by saying that Virginia is now one of 16 states which prohibit and punish marriages on the basis of racial classifications. And when you look at the structure of that law, it looks in terms of you can't do something that is inconsistent with your own characteristics. It's sort of the same thing. So it's interesting to me that we now have this different argument, and I wonder whether Virginia could have gotten away with what they did here by just making a classification argument the way that Tennessee is in this case.
Now, this woman is an idiot, and I don't say that because I disagree with her position. I say that because her inability to come up with any sort of better argument for her personal belief that we should be able to butcher children in this way demonstrates that she's an idiot. What she's claiming here in the argument is that if you are opposed to a boy attempting through surgery and chemical alterations to become a girl, or a girl becoming a boy, or, looking like one, then you are no different than somebody who thinks that a white person should not marry a black person because they look different. One cannot twist oneself enough to even find how any intelligent person would find a connection there. If you are going to even attempt to come close to trying to draw some comparison to American or state law and marriage, it would not be integration, it would be marriage of children. And that would be my response, that I would reject the comparison between interracial marriage and sex change operations for kids. A more appropriate comparison would be child bride marriage or child marriages and sex change operations for kids, because both of these are interactions that children are having with adults who not only approve, but in all likelihood have encouraged the children to make these decisions. That's the comparison, and we don't allow adults to marry children. In fact, we look at the people who are adults who want to marry children as predators, as groomers. When one who supports the surgery for children, I imagine, I try to think, well, what would their response be? And their response, I suppose, would be, well, that's different because a child's not young, and a child might be manipulated into getting married. Well, that's what's going on with these sex change operations. In fact, there are books written about it. We had one as an author of the week, and every single chapter was a different, now adult, but then child who regrets the irreversible damage that they did to themselves because as a child, adults convinced them that that was something they wanted. That is the exact same relationship that you have when it comes to pedophiles, or if we allowed adults to marry children. And the reason that we are opposed to it, and legally we are opposed to it, and we don't allow it to happen, is because we culturally have accepted that children are not old enough to make those decisions, and that they can be easily manipulated by people who want to be in those relationships. So if a Supreme Court justice, including one who doesn't even understand or can't tell the definition of a gender, male versus female, wants to make a comparison to marriages, it isn't interracial marriage. It's being married or marrying a child, and that is something that we don't allow in this country. You also had Sotomayor, another left-wing judge, that demonstrate. I'm telling you, what is with the Democrats and the inability to find a left-wing woman who can at least pretend to be intelligent? It's like every single Democrat woman is on this earth in order to try and convince the world that women are stupid. This is Sotomayor comparing irreversible sex change operations to taking an aspirin.
Detransitioners. So it becomes a pure exercise of weighing benefits versus risk. And the question of how many minors have to have their bodies irreparably harmed for unproven benefits is one that is best left.
I'm sorry, counselor. Every medical treatment has a risk, even taking aspirin. There is always going to be a percentage of the population under any medical treatment that's going to suffer a harm.
Well, except for people who get the COVID shot, of course. Think of the total lack of recognition of reality and lack of compassion there.
About irreversible mutilation and sometimes infertility. And you want to compare that to aspirin? And you're doing this on children.
There are so many women today who, among other things, have found themselves heartbroken because they've learned that they aren't able to breastfeed. They've decided, I was wrong. I was coaxed into this. I was going through the normal angst of puberty, and somebody convinced me that something was actually wrong with me, and I needed to go through this hormone therapy. I needed to have my breast lobbed off. I did it. Then I realized that that wasn't what was going on, and now I cannot have babies. Or if I can, I cannot have that bond of feeding my own child as a mother is intended to do. And the cold nature of, oh, that's no different than taking an aspirin. What a sick woman that Sotomayor is. What an absolute sick woman. And lacking any sort of humanity, which we continue to see demonstrated with consistency from people on the left in this country. And the fact that these two people sit on the Supreme Court is very, very frightening. Sarah Myers, everyone.
Thank you. The Pyramid Roofing Company. Now, time is running out to file insurance claims if you have storm damage from the storms that rolled through earlier this year. And if you've been putting it off, or maybe you just don't know that you have damage, go ahead and give Josh with the Pyramid Roofing Company team a call today. Now, the Pyramid team, they offer free roof inspections, so you're not out anything whenever you give them a call. They also don't upsell you or use scare tactics on you. They're just upfront and honest. And the best part about the Pyramid team is if you do need to file that insurance claim, they will actually work with you through that process without making you sign anything. And not all roofing companies do that, by the way. So if it is time to schedule that free roof inspection, give Josh a call today. You can find all of that contact information for the Pyramid Roofing Company under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
Yeah, the inconsistencies of these people on the left that claim if a minor, an 8-year-old, believes that they want irreversible cosmetic surgery in order to look more like the opposite sex, that they are equipped to make that decision. Yet every other decision in the world, these are people who, if they see an 8-year-old walking down the street alone a mile from home, call the police and have the parents arrested, because children shouldn't be walking alone. I mean, every aspect of, children, they say need to be protected, sometimes into adulthood. Yet when it comes to this, there's something very, very wrong with these people. We will see you tomorrow. We do have Heroes Breakfast at Scramblers, 6A to 9A, Veterans Free Breakfast. Hope to see you. I'm Nick Reed. Glenn Beck's next.